Let's talk about high-intensity warm-up activities. In the throwing events or other field events which require explosive strength, performance factors should be addressed during the warm-up, including the optimal stiffness of the series elastic component and reactive activation of the contractile apparatus. Again, that's not my quote, that's from literature. And so this kind of takes us in this whole concept of muscle stiffness and thinking about, okay, what can we do to enhance this if we know that all these things are out there? High-intensity warm-up is definitely a way, and this post-activation potentiation is an area that's starting to receive a lot more attention in recent years. This is the increase in muscle force and the rate of force development as a result of previous activation of the muscle. So basically, you're doing some type of activity that's going to have an impact on what you're doing later. Implementation of high-intensity contractions as a component of the warm-up prior to a training session or a competition has been suggested to improve performance. So what is post-activation potentiation? It's a contractile history of a muscle influencing the mechanical performance of subsequent muscle contractions. Fatiguing muscle contractions impair performance, whereas non-fatiguing muscle contractions, typically at high loads of brief duration, may enhance muscle performance. We're going to talk more about that now. The idea is not new, but the use of strength power potentiating complexes or complex pairs has been receiving a lot of focus, and Stone has a recent study coming out that's going to talk about this, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Basically, an SPPC involves the performance of a high force or high power movement in order to potentiate a subsequent high power or high velocity movement. Examples of these can be Olympic weightlifting exercises, squats, jump squats, heavy medicine ball throws, and throws with heavy implements are activities that you could put in your warm-up. Heavy squats may potentiate a subsequent vertical jump or sprint performance. The use of these SPPCs could be useful as a training method or as an acute performance enhancing factor immediately before competition. So you can use this in training, and I would suggest that you use it in training before you try it as part of a warm-up in competition. So here's an example. This young lady is doing very heavy quarter squat in a rack, 1, 2, 3 reps. Immediately she goes out the door, and then she's performing overhead medicine ball throws. And so you can see the potentiation there because obviously you saw a high amount of force with the quarter squats, and then she goes to a very, very fast, high velocity activity. And of course, her ability to produce force is going to be greater because she pre-activated the muscles. Now, you have to be careful when you do this because you notice we didn't do a set of 10 on the quarter squats because that would have been too fatiguing of an activity for it actually to help that overhead medicine ball throw. So do these types of things work? Well, again, I'll tell you they work because we've used them, but also the research has seen in 3 studies that I've listed some effectiveness, but not all studies have shown this to acutely increase performance. Well, let's talk about why. Fitness is an important factor. Young and Duthie suggested both that there's been a relationship between strength and post-activation potentiation. Specifically, that stronger, better trained athletes may be better equipped to benefit from this type of warm-up. Let's talk about the time period. The specifics of the conditioning or warm-up contraction still need to be addressed, but we have to understand how long will this type of pre-activation last. One report that documents improvement in jump squat performance from 5 to 18.5 minutes following a heavy load warm-up in power-trained athletes. And so 5 to 18 minutes, they can keep this type of response from what they did. Let's talk a little bit about this, the theoretical foundation, because I think this will help you understand it and help you use it better. All right, first point says that the result of training both fitness and fatigue characteristics are accumulated. This accumulation is related to the volume and intensity of training. So when we train our athletes, we're going to have this high volume, and of course we're going to increase the fitness of our athletes, but at the same time, they're going to increase the fatigue. A lot of times this fatigue is going to mask the ability to manifest the effects of fitness. And as long as fatigue remains high, the potential to perform is suppressed. And this is why a lot of times you'll see during the season that athletes look like they're going to perform, but they just can't quite pull the trigger. It's because they're tired, right? All right, so now we go ahead and we decrease the volume, and the fitness and fatigue become after effects of training that begin to diminish in magnitude.